Start the August 28th meeting of the Williston Energy Committee. Welcome, everybody. I will just briefly repeat a couple of things from last week's kickoff that Melinda and Reed and I met, and a focus of upcoming meetings will be really trying to focus on efficiency. There's a lot of work before us, and so we're trying to make these meetings as efficient as possible. Tonight, as we go through each of these topics, before we start in on the conversation, the leader of the topic, I think, can maybe present one or two outcomes that they wish to achieve as part of that. So, for example, we've got the fiscal year 25 work plan. Melinda can let us know what the outcomes are that she needs from that topic, and then we can use that to kind of keep ourselves on track and maybe know when we're getting a little bit into some adjacent areas or straight down the rabbit hole. And we will do public comment. And as I mentioned last week, and we're trying to, hold ourselves more accountable to being efficient, please try and keep comments to roughly 3 minutes. And if there's multiple commenters, we're trying to ask people, not necessarily to repeat, but if you have something to add, please do. So with that, if there's nothing else, we can move into the public comment, as we have probably maybe two people for public comment tonight. Jabin, you want to lead us off? I assume that's why you're here.
Sure. Hi. And hi, Melanie. I don't need 3 minutes. This should go fast. I just wanted to follow up. First of all, I wanted to say thanks for continuing the great series of Living Green articles and the upcoming fair. All the public informing that you're doing is being fantastic. I wanted to just briefly follow up on what I sent last meeting about the town hall parking lot, and just to say that I did present to the select board at their meeting last week. I sent a copy of my presentation, which included what I said, as well as some pictures to Kevin and Melinda. I don't know if you've seen them. And a piece of information that's relevant is that the reason the select board is asking to revote the bond in November is because they received a large grant. And clarification is that grant must be used in 36 months from when it was allocated, which was in May. So there's 36 months from May, because I was wondering about, do we have time to add a solar canopy to the project without derailing anything, was the question. And I also wanted to clarify that the Planning Commission has said that this is a good idea because as a demonstration project, and I want to make clear that that demonstration was for more than just showing that it can be done to developers, but also we were hoping, the Planning Commission, we were working on the form-based code for Taft Corners. The street specifications were then turned into public work specifications following the adoption of that zoning. And we were wanting the solar canopy specifications for public parking to also have specifications so that a developer would know what they have to do, what the clearances have to be, what they have to allow for fire lanes, et cetera. And so the demonstration was not just to show it could be done, but was also to develop the specifications for future projects. And finally, just a reminder that 6.2 in our energy plan says the town of Williston shall continue to lead community by increasing its renewable energy production and battery storage portfolio of municipal buildings. So it would demonstrate that as well. So I just wanted to say that I did present last week, and then I had not received a call back when I contacted the people who did the array over parking in Richmond that I thought was most like what we might want here in Williston. And I did get a call back later, and they were very positive. And it turns out that that company called Aegis is also doing a large solar canopy municipal one for Colchester right now. So I passed all that information on to the town, and then said I need to stand down. I felt like it's sort of finding a lead, but then getting out of the way. And I don't know if Melinda wants to say anything about that, but that's where I left it. I just wanted to update you guys, having said that I was going to talk to the select board.
Well, thank you, Chapin. Melinda, you.
Just a brief follow-up. I ended up contacting Aegis because they had contacted me about something else, and I just said, hey, by the way, you know, here's this parking lot improvement project we're doing. Could you come up with, like, do a quick analysis and come up with like a quick and rough cost estimate? So they're doing that.
Excellent. Thank you, Chapin. Reed?
Yeah, I just had a really quick comment, which is just that Marcy, Cass, and I from Sustainable Williston have started to collect feedback from Sustainable Williston members regarding the clean heat standard and anything that we have read that would lead us to suggest or put our support behind various levers or aspects of a clean heat standard for Williston. And we're looking forward to refining that list and sharing it in writing with you all in case it's helpful, as well as sharing any reference materials that we have. I'm looking forward to the future meetings. I did see Melinda, it said September 11th twice at the bottom for future agenda items. I'm guessing that second line was supposed to be, would it be September 25th?
Yeah, possibly.
But looking forward to the future meetings where that'll be discussed. Thank you.
Thanks, Reed. All right, anybody else for public comment?
I apologize, but I can't stay on, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Chapin. All right, with that, on to the approval of the last meeting's minutes, the August 14th meeting.
It's really small. Here.
The plus sign right above.
I
the
know,
top
I'm
of
trying to
it.
get to it, but this
Oh,
chat thingy is in the way, so
no.
let me see if I can. Come on. Oh, geez. All right.
Okay.
That's what I have on there, right?
Wait, did that say two old men in masculinity?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Okay, so the minutes were pretty brief because most of it was just the survey results, which I will not go through.
Right.
I don't have any comments.
Any comments? No? All right, is there a motion
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
for a second?
I'll say.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes as written for August 14th, 2024, and we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, I believe that is unanimous. Yes, okay. All right, so the minutes pass as written. All right, so on to the energy plan final review, and Melinda, if you wouldn't mind, you have just wanted to share with us what your hopes and dreams are for this agenda item, outcomes you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And then we can focus on that.
So in my email that I announced the meeting, I requested that everybody kind of read through the plan and note down any comments that they had, bring them to the meeting. And the one missing piece that we had was the remainder of the community energy profile. And Melanie Needle is here from CCRPC to kind of go through the rest of that. And then we can go around, and if anybody has comments, we can talk about them, but my hope is really that we can pass this plan on. I mean, granted that there are small things and definitely a lot of aesthetics to you know, to improve in the plan, but substantively, I think my goal is that we're there by the end of the meeting tonight.
So basically in the next however long it takes, hour and, or, sorry, 50 minutes, we'll get to a point where we can make a motion to adopt the plan either as written or with specific changes.
And I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right,
I'd just like to comment, I did go through it today, all 52 pages of it, until my eyes blurry.
Yes,
I made some minor changes online into it, so.
Yeah.
they're within it. And none of them substantial. Some obvious grammatical things and, which we weren't gonna do a lot, but some just didn't make sense, so I changed a few words, but there's a few comments that we'll have to clear up. And
Yeah.
some highlighted things that we have to get rid of and
yeah,
make some decisions on. But otherwise, if you read, and you can read all the, the editing that's in place, it came out pretty well, in my opinion.
so I think on to Melanie. I don't know if Melanie is going to introduce the friend that she had on camera a minute ago.
oh, who's that?
That was Scout. He is a golden
Aw.
doodle and he's really mad that I'm in a meeting and he wants to go for a walk. So he has been locked out of the office and is whining behind the door.
I was really mad. Okay.
So he is eagerly waiting for his second walk. So I guess you guys are giving me the floor. Hi again, Melanie Needle from CCRPC. Good to see you guys. I'm thinking the best approach would for me to share my screen and I can go over the latest energy data guide that I sent to Melinda today. I will share my screen in a second. I'm just pulling up the guide. Okay, we're working on a lot of guides for a lot of municipalities, and so I have Williston in front of me now. Okay, I'm sharing the screen. All right, are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
You're seeing the guide, right?
Mhm.
With the CCRPC logo. Oh
Mhm.
no,
Now we're seeing a spreadsheet.
what happened? There we go. Okay. So we've been through a few iterations of the guide. I think as I mentioned the last time, Williston is the first municipality that we are taking the LEAP data that the Public Service Department gave us and using their tool along with a myriad of a lot of existing data to municipalize the LEAP model. So it's been an iterative process, but I think we're close to the end. And so I really appreciate you guys bearing with us and being the guinea pig. So just a recap from last time. All the data in this guide meets your energy planning standards for analysis and target section of the standards. Essentially, the Public Service Department gave us a LEAP model, the data that came out of the statewide LEAP model that tells us how energy needs to change in order to meet the state's energy and climate goals, and they're reiterated here in the memo. So I'm just going to scroll past this stuff. So I don't know, would it be helpful for me to go over the tables that have changed and explain why the change occurred? Or do we want to just start with renewable energy generation because we didn't get a chance to do that the last time? What would be preferential and the most efficient use of your time?
I did notice some changes, I thought in particular in like the number of households and things like that, so I was curious how those were. What drove those changes, if it was just errors or an update to the model or what drove that, so I would be interested in hearing about the changes.
Yeah, so it is a combination of formula errors, math errors, looking at the data and comparing it to what we did the last time in the energy data guide, and then looking at the targets and comparing it to the progress Williston has changed, or the progress Williston has achieved. So yeah, it's a combination of things, but so I'll go through each table quickly. So in table A1, where we're looking at current household transportation energy use, we don't have energy use because it's a non-regulated fuel. So we're using vehicle types as a proxy. We have more current data available to us. So this number for the number of fossil fuel burning light duty vehicles last guide was year 2021. We were able to get year 2022 data from UVM's Transportation Research Center. Our goal was we wanted to have all the base years to be 2022 if we could get the data, and we were able to get the data from them at the end of July. So we updated the data sheet as a result of that. And then from there, we subtract out the number of electric duty vehicles for year 2022 from a previous Efficiency Vermont report. Just wanted to highlight that this 5,900 vehicles is for households. The TRC data is just looking at vehicles registered to households. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not every single vehicle registered to a location in Williston. It's just households.
Melanie,
Yep.
So the last row of that table was percent of regional share of electric light duty vehicles. It looks like the number looks 368 is about 2%. No, is it? Yeah, 2% of 6,000. What is that 2%? I'm confused because like
So
it looks like it's 2% of something else.
So yeah, it's the it's comparing the number of EVs in Williston to the number of EVs in Chittenden County. So Williston has 2% of all EVs in Chittenden County.
Really?
That is shocking.
That would be higher. 2%?
Out of only how many towns?
14 towns?
Or
Yeah, there's 19 towns, but not yeah. Happy to double check it, but that's what the math was. But I will circle that, and you know, anything that we sort of flag tonight, I can address and send another version. But you know, it is what it is. The more eyes on this data, the better, because it's sort of like every which way you look at it, you come up with you know, another question. So
All right, thank you.
and thank
What's
you.
the regional, Chittenden County? Or
Chittenden County.
that, yeah, that seems way too low. Because
Yeah, I don't want to like monkey with pulling up spreadsheets right now, because then you guys are gonna see like all the screens. So
That would not be aligned with
Yeah.
our more efficient meeting.
yeah.
Awesome, well, thank you.
Yep, so I will check on that. Table A2 did not change. This is from the American Community Survey information. I did add a note alerting people that there's a high margin of error associated with these data. So kind of take them with a grain of salt. They're best available. They're mostly in here because we need to talk about consumption in the fossil fuel sector, and we don't have that data because it's not a regulated fuel. So this is our best available for that data source, and added in the other data points regarding other fuel types in here. Going on to table A3, this is natural gas consumption from Vermont Gas. Melinda did identify a math error in here that has then been fixed. Table A4 has not changed. And if you want to understand Williston's progress in weatherizing and installing cold climate heat pumps and wood heating installations, this is the best available data that we get annually from Efficiency Vermont. So it's a really good kind of progress report on how Williston is doing. And this is an overview of what each of those types of project measures are. sorry for the scrolling. Table A5 did not change. This comes from Efficiency Vermont's report. I think table A6 did change. We have the PSD data, the Public Service Department data takes a lot of scrubbing. It's not the best source of data. And so we also use our local knowledge of what we know to be installed. And I think there's a math error here in this total that I need to fix. I caught it this afternoon. So this should be about 35,029 megawatt hours. But this gives you a sense of a majority of the renewable electricity generation is coming from solar, and Williston has 2 wind sites in the municipality. And then you are sharing the generation from the number 19 GMP dam, because the Public Service Department guidance says you can count the generation based on where it's sited. And then if it's split by 2 municipalities, it is shared. So going up to projected energy use, this is where the use of
Two super quick questions on that.
Sure.
We don't need to go deep. The 400 and whatever it was, solar, that includes residential.
Yes.
And this is probably way more complicated, but the output from that number 19 dam, that's a GMP owned resource, correct?
That's correct.
Is there any, do you know off the top of your head, is that power spoken for elsewhere, or does GMP just consider that power that goes onto the grid and serves like the nearest communities? I guess what I'm asking is, do you know if the number 19 dam is part of a power purchase agreement outside of the neighboring towns?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know where the electricity is accounted for or who's actually using it. I think it's hard to figure that out because electrons go where they want. But Williston gets to count half of the generation towards your renewable energy generation target. Because Act 174 was sort of born out of like land use disputes. I mean, granted, the hydro dam has been there for a while, but you are getting credit for the generation because I guess looking into the future, the municipality is doing the planning and identifying where the site should be. So you get credit for that. So it's based on the site specific location of the facility.
And as far as like where the actual electrons go, as long as we're not double counting, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was just wondering, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that's the kind of why RECs exist, right? Is because you can cite renewable energy and it may not be in the right place, but you can buy it and.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure GMP sells the Rex for this, right?
Oh, 100%. I'm sure they get credit for it.
Maybe.
I'm betting it's their resource and they're not selling it out because they try really hard not to buy on the spot market from or participate in the wholesale market as much as they don't have to. They try and keep their portfolio to their resources, and then of course Hydro Quebec and whatever they source bilaterally for renewables. So I would highly doubt that they're selling that out of their footprint.
It's also run of the river, so it doesn't have any storage.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Melanie.
Yep. Okay, so table B1, the number of total light duty vehicles changed because we did that update using the 2022 data. And then also how we apportioned out EVs to the municipalities changed as well. And this is in better alignment with what the target was previously in 2018. And then going down to table B2, we did not have this data available to you last time, and we do now. This table is a little bit of a departure from, taking the regional LEAP data and apportioning it out. We discovered an issue in the commercial sector of the LEAP model, in that it was anticipating too much energy in the commercial sector and attributing too much energy to be saved through weatherization. So the standard gives the region the ability to do a different approach, and we've discussed this with the Public Service Department. We're not using LEAP data here. We are setting the commercial establishments, the number of commercial establishments weatherized equal to the same amount of weatherization that needs to happen in the residential sector. And then figuring out what the number of businesses will be in the future as a projection, and then associating that with the average amount of energy saved in an average business to figure out what that portion is. And then going down to commercial heat pumps, that was a similar approach. And then also there's now data in here showing commercial thermal energy use attributable to wood heating. Any questions about this, since this is the first time you're seeing these data in table B2?
Yes, for row 2, what's the definition of weatherized? Is that, like, I guess, what's baseline weatherization here? Is it weatherized up to some standard? Does it include buildings that were built according to some, current Vermont code standard that didn't need to actually be weatherized because they're already weatherized?
Yeah, that is a level of detail of the LEAP model that I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I would assume that Public Service Department did, build in assumptions in LEAP to make sure that they're saving the appropriate amount of energy according to the energy code. But I need to read the documentation with that question in mind to answer it, so I can get back to you about that.
So maybe the same answer for number 3, but do you know what the baseline is? Like, we're saying energy saved, but saved versus what?
Yeah, so the baseline is a comparison between the business as usual case. So there was one scenario that PSD ran, that was the business as usual, and then they ran the climate mitigation scenario. And so the amount of energy saved is a comparison between those two scenarios, including the amount of weatherization that was done in the climate action scenario.
All right, but so for the 2025 column, it must assume that that's actions taken above a baseline from a given year, I would assume, right? Like
Yeah, the baseline is 2015.
Okay.
But we're not like there's so much data in here, trying to keep it streamlined for municipalities. The energy planning standards are only requiring the milestone years for 2025, 2035, and 2050. And if you're interested, I can share the spreadsheet that does all this math and disaggregation. If you really want to get into the weeds on the things. That I can send Melinda the spreadsheet so she can share it with you guys if you're interested. But it's a lot of assumptions, and like we talked about it before, it's helpful in terms of understanding the magnitude of change. Nobody knows how it's going to actually look like in the future, but we need to have these data in the plan so that Williston can achieve the positive determination and then have greater weight at the Public Utility Commission when they're reviewing certificate of public good applications for big facilities. So it's kind of a means to an end. And it is helpful to understand, you know, what needs to change in some respects in Williston. All right, projected residential thermal energy use. I think the biggest change here was how we calculated the percent of residents using heat pumps and the estimated number of residents using heat pumps. The biggest change here was that we based it on Williston's share of Chittenden County's housing growth into the future. So, you know, between now and 2050, a majority of residents will be using heat pumps for their thermal energy. And somebody earlier had a question about households.
Yeah,
Was this the?
I think it was because this, I was trying to find the last one that I saw, but wasn't that number a lot lower the last time we saw it? The
Yeah.
number of households both for 2025 and up through 2050?
Yeah, I think I remember that too, and that I think that's part of the reason why, like Melanie, why you went back and revised that, because it may have just been like a calculation error or something.
Yeah, thank you. You jogged my memory. So there was an extra 0 in the growth rate. So
That's
it
right.
wasn't, so the tool wasn't projecting enough growth. But so now the annual growth rate is 2.45. And that's based on the 10-year average between 2012 and 2022. So it was wrong the last time. This is the right calculation with the right growth rate.
What is the line 13? Estimated number of residences using biogas. I'll plead ignorant. What is biogas?
Yeah, I knew somebody was going to ask that.
And say 2,700 homes next year are gonna have biogas?
Yeah, so you know,
renewable?
this piece of the profile troubles me, and I went back into the LEAP documentation to try to get the answer because it is very glaringly like, what is biogas? But it's I think there's a portion of it that's renewable natural gas. Unfortunately, the LEAP documentation was not really helpful in defining what biogas is. And I agree with you that it seems not quite right that this number of homes in a year is going to be using biogas. So my recommendation is, you know, take this one with a grain of salt. I don't have a better answer for you, and I apologize, but again, the data is what it is. But renewable natural gas is part of Vermont Gas's strategy for reaching climate goals as well as the state. It just, at this level, the municipalization of that sector just, it doesn't make a ton of sense. You know, I can explore it further, but I know that you guys are on a time crunch, so I can see what else I can find out from the public service department if that interests you.
I mean, so Melanie, is it an option to just leave those rows out of the plan?
Yeah, we don't know what how they.
Yeah, I need to take another look at the standards specific to biogas, but I believe there is language that refers to renewable energy in the thermal sector, and so that's wood and renewable natural gas. So you could leave it out, and if you decide to leave it out, I think an explanation would be needed so that when we are doing your determination and, you know, having that conversation with the planning advisory committee at the RPC, there's some acknowledgement that it was not included because the data just didn't seem to make sense for Williston. I think in some of the standards, the checklist does either will give you a yes, no, or NA, and then in the NA column, you can give an explanation. So if you do decide to take it out, just you can, add a caveat and explain it.
Would be more preferable is if we could get an explanation
Know what
of
it is.
what it is,
Yeah.
rather than explaining why we're not including it, right? Because.
Yeah, I will put that on my list because I'm sure other municipalities will ask the same kind of question. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed when I was reading the LEAP documentation and I was like, oh, it doesn't really explain it.
Yeah, it's 2/3 of the total thermal energy use, so it's huge, right?
Well,
Yeah.
significant. Cause I think it's like 1% of the base tariff now is renewable,
Yeah,
Which is not 54%.
not that much, no.
Okay.
It's been a lot more expensive.
Okay, so going on to table B4, this is new data. So this is essentially saying how much energy needs to be saved from residents and businesses installing energy efficient appliances that rely on electricity. So the appliances in your kitchen or your laundry room. And then in order to achieve that savings, this is the number of homes and this is the number of businesses that need to have increasing their electricity efficiency.
Are those, I assume those numbers are incremental, right? So 146 by 2025, and then an additional 135, and then an additional 109?
Yes.
Okay, I was confused at first because it went down and I was.
Yeah.
No, did you have any, Brandon, that number just seems incredibly small to me. So we're saying only 140, only, blowing that word, do a lot of work, but only 146 residences will well, let me say it a different way. Only 109 residences will improve their electric efficiency between 2035 and 2050.
So yeah, so it's, I guess in the year 2050, 109 homes will be increasing their electric efficiency. And then we are still also verifying with Efficiency Vermont because we also had some questions about this. So this may be subject to change.
So yeah, I guess it makes sense if it's per year, like in 2025, 146 homes per year. And then by 2035, 135 per year. But other than that, it's a very strange number.
So that would be actually 139 or 109 times 15. That's 1,600 homes. If we divide what's 7313679 minus 4045107. So to get to 3.2 million, if we divide that by 1654, whatever it is, it's about, so it's 1,000, it's almost 2,000 kilowatt hours of improvement in efficiency for each of those homes per something. I don't know what the units are on this though, so I'm not sure. Total cumulative electric energy saved from improvements.
Right.
Yeah, so your math is right though.
Yeah, so it is correct. That's okay. So that's like a megawatt hour per, I mean, that's not
2 megawatt hours.
2 megawatt hours per home. I mean, that's not actually that.
Which for a fully
unrealistic.
electrified home is probably coming in around like 15% of the total energy is 15-20% maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that seems correct. If that's on a per, I think the table just isn't clear.
Okay.
That the 109, the 135, it's like per year in between 2035 and 2050.
So it's so it makes sense that it's decreasing, starting from 146, so as you improve a residence, you need less each 10-year increment,
If that's what it means, like, I guess it's about hearing back from Efficiency Vermont and make sure that's what they meant by that.
Yep, I will follow up on this one. Okay, going down to the renewable energy generation section. This is all new because we didn't get a chance to talk about this the last time. So table C is telling us the amount of land available for wind and solar generation. The prime potential is areas where there's high wind and solar potential, based on a GIS model that's looking at slope and aspect, and other factors. And then also prime is areas where there are no natural resource constraints, either base or prime. And we can go over the constraints later on. The base potential is, again, high energy potential. There's a presence of possible constraints, but there's no presence of known constraints. And the known constraints are the ones that are 100% prohibition. You can't develop on. The possible constraints are natural resource constraints where there can be some encroachment, or mitigation needs to happen. So when you're looking at the combination of table 1 and table 2, what this is saying is that Williston has enough energy resource area, both land-based and rooftop solar, to meet the targets that are established in C2.
Does this take into account constraints on the distribution system, since most of this will be behind the meter? Is there room, like substation room? Is there, because like when you put in solar, they assess like how much room is there on the substation that you're connected to? Can, you know, how much permitting what your permitting cost is gonna be? Does this take into account a decreasing amount of like space on the distribution system as well?
It does not, because in the ECOS plan, when we discuss the renewable energy generation targets, we are, calling out that the region has some significant grid constraints and that those can be remedied going forward. So the grid constraints are not included in the generation targets.
So I would just say there's a big caveat to this then, because it will require cooperation with, well, at least here, mostly Green Mountain Power, to ensure that there could be very prime sites that we don't know like how intricate, like the interconnection capability of that site.
Yeah, that's a
and
good point. And so
nature.
what you might want to do in the plan, and maybe you have this already, is you could add a discussion talking about what grid constraints are evident in Williston, just, include a narrative. That might be a good idea if you don't have that already.
But to that point, it also doesn't include any, if we're either on prime or base potential land for the facility itself, it does not include any potential surrounding land that may need to be used to get the power out of there. Like,
Right, the
if
actual
isn't any, if
interconnection,
it's not on some existing transmission, distribution,
Yeah.
So we
lines.
do have an assumption baked into our analysis when we are estimating acres and then going to megawatt hours. There is an assumption that takes into consideration having to run the infrastructure, and not every acre is available, especially if it's base solar or base wind. So we did include an assumption on that. And I can share that with you. It's in the documentation in the ECOS plan, if that interests you. Just writing a note to myself about that. Okay, scrolling on. So I provided a quick summary of what a known constraint is. That's the most restrictive. The facilities won't be sited in those areas according to this analysis. And the state has constraints that we must include in the analysis. And then the last ECOS plan, we worked with the town to identify local known constraints that were either supported by language in the town plan or by the zoning regulations. And then we affirmed them, checked in with municipalities around, I think, 18 months ago to make sure that these were still the right ones. And so Williston's known constraints are water protection buffers, primary viewshed areas, and then slopes. And then less steep slopes are a possible constraint, as well as the conservation areas in Williston.
I didn't think that primary view sheds were, like, if you call something a primary view shed, that excludes solar. I did not, that was a possible constraint.
Yeah,
Because
you
we
might
have
be
a lot of them and
right
they're,
on that.
that's not,
I think that was maybe just a copy paste error. I will check on that.
well, what is our energy committee think about it?
But it might be ground mounted, right? What they're referring to? Cause I think or maybe it's different by towns, but I think Stowe does have a, you know, like a view shed vista protection that you can't actually, any development, which would include ground mounted. Maybe that's,
So the question is, does Williston have that?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to us. I think we can decide here.
Yeah,
If
let
you-
me check on it. I think it was potentially just put in the wrong column. If it was, I
Yeah,
don't,
we
Melinda, do you
discussed
have
it last time.
the document, the draft document in front of you? Because I think you had this table in the draft document. Was primary view shed a known or a possible
Well,
constraint last time
Oh,
around?
so I just copy pasted this table. but I
Oh,
think-
okay.
I think that
Yeah.
Kevin is right, that primary view shed areas are a possible constraint, not a local non-constraint.
Yeah.
If you take as an example, over at Catamount Forest, one of the best view sheds is looking across the pond and out to Camel's Hump.
Mhm.
But the McCulloughs have just put 2 ground mounted solar trackers
There you
in
go.
the field there.
Yeah.
Which you could stand behind them and say it's impacted, but if you walk 10 feet to the right, it's not impacted,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, so,
Exactly.
yeah.
So are you
Well,
willing to
if you
walk
call
down?
that,
Yeah,
I mean, Vermont, we would have no solar. If I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have lots of
yes.
view sheds.
Yes,
Usually it's like ridge lines and all that stuff like that.
well, this would be the Green Mountain Ridge line that you're looking at, yeah.
Like where the turbines are up by. what's that?
Sandalwood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or
or what are the ones up on 89 then?
Georgia Mountain?
Georgia, yeah.
Is that
Georgia
what it's
Mountain,
called?
Yeah, yeah,
Georgia Mountain.
I think they added nice.
Yeah, Melanie,
I don't mind it, but some people
Melanie,
giving them infrasound.
if you look at the maps, the latest maps that you gave us, I think you'll see there that you revised the primary view shed areas to be possible constraints.
Yeah, when I was reading this out loud, I was thinking too that that's a mistake, because the regulation has to be really strict about not letting any kind of development in the viewshed area for it to be a known constraint. So I think it's wrong. All right. So I think that gets us to the bottom of the profile. I've provided the maps to you already. And then I talked to Melinda earlier via email about this. And so real quick, and Melinda, you and I can talk offline, but I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get to this because the state of Vermont didn't get their EPA funding on the climate pollution reduction grant. So that means that the regions, the RPCs, are not getting as much money that we thought we were going to get to do this. And we were using that funding to provide like 60 hours of technical assistance to municipalities beyond these data profiles. And so the way it stands now, we don't have the funding to do that extra work, but Melinda and I can talk about whether this is needed. It's not needed to meet your energy planning standards. This was kind of a like a nice to have value added type of thing, because the energy data profile that we're giving you doesn't express the data in terms of carbon reduction or carbon emissions, or give you specific high impact actions. So that's why we were going to do this, but I'm not sure that it's going to be possible now.
Isn't this why we're doing all this, right? For having emissions and reduction. Seems odd. That starts the.
Yeah, and the emissions necessary to meet the Global Warming Solution Act are baked in to the LEAP data. So, you know, in a sense, this, you know, the targets through this profile are one set of targets, but it just doesn't go as far as expressing the data in terms of metric tons of carbon. So it's, you know, doing this other analysis to get the carbon reductions, it's a little bit duplicative. And there is a chance that we could, at the end of it, end up with just differing targets because it's a different tool that we use to get to this. So that's why I was saying it was like kind of a nice to have thing, but I don't think we're going to have the funding or the time to get to it. So that concludes the end of the profile conversation. Is it okay if I stop sharing? Did anybody want to look at anything else?
So Melinda, are these tables already in the plan that we've been reviewing?
Yeah, I think most of them,
Most
not
of
all
not
of them
all
are.
of them.
Yeah,
But most of the updated data
yeah.
is in there. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
I was following along with most of them in our plan.
Oh, okay.
Just looking at what was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry about the changes. This is not how I like to get work done, but it's kind of just the nature of the beast with the analysis that we have to do to meet the standards. So I have my notes on what I need to get back to you guys on. And so I think we had a question about Williston's share of regional electric vehicles. I was going to check on the level of weatherization that is baked into LEAP. I'm going to get you a better definition of biogas. I will communicate with you guys about what we hear from Efficiency Vermont regarding that last table B4. And I need to put primary view shed areas in the right column.
Yeah. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Would you guys like for me to stay on while you go through the rest of the plan?
I think you should say that dog.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot about him. He quieted down.
Scout needs you.
So I
So we've
think
got,
I'll be able to get you know, a final one to Melinda by the end of the week, because I know you guys are finishing up your work, and I'm sure this is really annoying for you that the data changes.
No worries. It's part of what it is to be a guinea pig.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
so looking at the schedule, so that was awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie. That was
Of course,
great.
thank you.
We've got per the agenda, we have 5 minutes until we're supposed to do the next topic. Which is the work plan. Obviously, getting through the energy plan final review is a high priority. Strictly my opinion, I'll disagree. The energy fair planning check-in, I think, is high priority, given the fact that's coming up pretty soon, and we should definitely talk through that. Melinda, do you have thoughts on the importance of the fiscal year 25 work plan?
I mean, you can table that if you want to the next to the next meeting.
Yeah, I think it comes down to either tabling the remainder of the discussion for the final review or tabling the work plan. I guess the question to the group is, do we think we can get through the entirety of the final review? Or are we gonna end up stretching into the next meeting anyways, in which case, how about we just move the final review to the next meeting?
Well,
Ideas?
so what's the expectation? I mean, it's full of still edits. Do we have to go through and accept every one of them in this meeting or?
So the final review, you know, means trusting that staff is gonna go and do like the
cleanup.
the cleanup,
The editorial.
right? So this is
I'm
substantive
gonna sign
stuff.
off. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Melanie.
This is like major points, like policy points that you guys wanna, you know, no, I disagree with this.
Mhm.
We need to change the, you know, substance stuff, not changing a word here, changing a word there. Going, you know, you don't need to go through and accept all the changes. I will do that, after, you know, you've basically accepted the content and the substance.
So Melinda, my question to you.
Yeah.
Do you think this committee, with this new and improved focus on efficiency, is gonna be able to get through everything in 20 minutes? You wanna defend this?
I have no idea.
I would vote, I would like more time to until next time, and then we could put like all the meeting on this. I think a half an hour is gonna rush, or 20 minutes is rushing it.
Because we just took 40 minutes with
Yeah.
Melanie because it was valuable, you know.
Yeah, okay, much of that true.
I would
It's
task,
critical.
I would task everyone then to read through the big policy points and like write down, come prepared next time. With anything you want to clarify or change, that way we're not. Kind of stumbling into things as we and review it line by line, but come with specific things, cause like. We don't have to go through every paragraph and every pathway and every, you know,
So,
And I
unless we're required to by some.
would also encourage you as you're doing this to, in the view, to view the, let's see, to just change it from markup view to markup and margin. It'll be a lot easier to read.
yeah,
And then if you have questions about, you know, a specific edit, then you can click on the red line to expand it, but I think it'll be easier to read through this way.
because we'd be reading with what we're about to accept, essentially.
Right,
correct?
Right,
Right.
Do we wanna take Maria's suggestion one step further and say, in the next meeting, we will only cover things that have been previously sent to Melinda via email, as opposed to reading through it in real time? That kind of really puts the onus on us, that if you want to say anything, you have to send it in email. over
Oh,
the
in
next-
email form.
Yep,
Yeah.
I
over
like
the next
that.
say 10 days, give Melinda some time to.
Yep,
great.
Because otherwise you're still, even with the format you just did, you're still reading 50 pages.
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
and us scrolling through 50 pages, we're really good at getting
Yep.
caught up in little stuff. Like, it just will not, it's not gonna work unless we have like. This on this page, can we discuss this here, you
Yeah.
know, otherwise.
Yeah,
So Melinda, let us know how you want to do that, if you want free form email comments, or if you want to set up like a Mentimeter with like a comments per section, whatever's easiest for you.
just send me free form comments.
Okay, so free form comments on the.
Just noting the page number or this,
I know, right?
this,
Section.
yeah, that would be the easiest thing.
All right, well, with that, we have now put ourselves on time, and we will move on to the fiscal year 25 work plan.
All right, so,
Sorry,
yeah,
being a stickler, before you start, what is the outcome we
Oh,
should be
yes.
focused on for this?
I think, well, anyway, you guys chime in too, but, you know, the reason for asking which thing you would champion is really to end up at the end of the night with deciding what you're gonna have on your plate for the next year and who's gonna take the lead on each thing.
My question was, do we have to? Given that we do public outreach, we advise the select board, we kind of have our, fingers in a couple things. Do we have to do something in every single box?
No.
Okay, cause I feel like we can probably. Like if we were to do window dressers, for example, that's gonna take a whole lot of time and effort and we really have to commit to it. That might mean we don't do anything else. As in like a big project. We'll do all of our other stuff too. But we may want to not just think of it in terms of each pathway or each, I forget what we call them, or each kind of like group, but also like.
Yeah.
What we did before, the high impact, low cost, that effort to. The quadrant things, yeah, and decide how many we want to do as well.
Yeah. Makes sense. So, I can go through the results of the survey if you want. That was quite interesting. Anyway,
I
so,
limit to
yeah.
running out of steam as I get towards the end of the survey and
Okay.
putting fewer and fewer comments.
All right. So outreach strategies, first was, number one was the energy fair, so. That seems like a worthy endeavor. Williston Observer, Living Green articles, and then pop-up events. And then last, so sort of lower priorities, posting on Front Porch Forum, and interestingly enough, the website. So, yeah, that was,
I think the website's important. I think it needs more educational pop-up to have people know where it is.
I kind of found the last two, and I think I voted similar to this, but the last two seemed to be part of the how of the first three. Right, like, and unless you had something different, I was wondering this, do you have something different in mind about posting events? Like, we post events on the Front Porch Forum as part of hosting the event, like the energy
well, I
fair.
think like, I'm thinking more of like other events, other people's events, like more in general, just, not just stuff that you're hosting. Anyway. And then there were a bunch of comments on measurable goals, and, about how many events you should hold, getting feedback after events. I can actually go through it here. Does anybody read our articles or postings? I mean,
I don't know if I'm on.
Chapin does.
yeah.
Chapin.
I haven't gotten very much feedback from the articles. I've gotten some, but
We know that Jim
not that
McCullough read
much.
one,
Yep.
Yeah.
because he read a letter to the editor after that.
Oh, nice.
So one Living Green article, you've definitely been exceeding that. And then, yeah, community, so this is just sort of number of participants at events, and feedback. Hold at least 4 events in a year, at least 10 attendees per event. And then this last one, 50% of attendees report a change in understanding or planning behavior. That's hard to.
So that was fine.
It's pretty deliverable. It's better than what I wrote.
Yeah, so I did, I'm not gonna call it research. I Googled in
That's
terms
research.
of how people, like, what are some practices to track the effectiveness of education on climate and energy solutions? And I'll share the link with you all. It was actually super interesting and dorky, but they had some interesting things, like you measure, when people come in, you ask them to fill out a quick survey. And then you present your content, and then you ask them to fill out a different survey, or maybe you follow up with them later, and you track. And I put 50% having we can't control what people say, right? But like, our goal should be to achieve that kind of outcome, so we should be making sure that we're providing good content and we're providing in a way that resonates with people. So I'll share that link. It just seemed like an interesting way with all the outreach type stuff that we do.
Mhm.
it'd be really interesting to find some way to quantify the impact we're having.
Yeah,
The one hard thing about that is there's going to be a large selection bias in the people who attend the events that we
Yeah.
either attend or hold. And they are generally gonna be the people who already have some level of engagement, expertise, knowledge, desire in that area. So it might be hard to do a change in understanding or plan behavior.
50% could be entirely the wrong number, maybe 10% is hitting the people, I made it 50. I
Yeah,
just-
more people. You just need to.
all right. And then Energy Fair, at least 50 attendees, and then again, the 50%. Reporting change in understanding or behavior. 5 attendees follow up in a year reporting they have purchased an EV.
That's a high percent.
Mhm.
5 and 50, 10%.
Once again, I made up that number.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna throw something out there to be kind of.
I
provocative and
like the
enforce it.
optimism though.
And then determining the traffic to the website. Publishing one, did you know, to the website per month, in addition to the Observer articles, event updates, etc. And then tracking user engagement on the website and Front Porch Forum. 1 event per quarter. So. And then as far as like who wants to champion or which of the outreach strategies, if any, would you champion? So.
Do you know who put these answers in? Cause I gotta be honest, I forgot what I put down.
Well, that's really helpful.
I can't remember.
Well, I know I did the Williston Observer articles because I've been doing
I did the
championing them.
So
I must have said website then. I don't
See, you don't remember either. You're
No,
laughing at me and then now you.
I didn't I was laughing because I was like, oh shoot, I'm in that bucket too. I also put almost no comments because when I was doing this, I would immediately forget the different options and how to.
I did that the first time, so I canceled the whole thing, went back, started again, and then would fill out the first page and screenshot it.
Oh,
Okay,
Keep that
A+
window.
for effort.
Alright.
That's why you're the chair and I'm not.
Yep, exactly.
Well, at any rate,
So I agreed to do one of those.
okay, yeah,
Probably not the website.
I mean. So basically the Energy Fair, the Observer articles and the pop-up events really like are sort of. Seem like the highest priority things, so maybe. Maybe nobody has to champion the low priority things, maybe you just. It's
So-
not like we won't do a website, I'll like sort of like limp along as I have been, I haven't been great about keeping it up, but.
I have a question, just to the group. The top 3 were Energy Fair, Observer articles, and pop-up events.
Yeah.
Right, so there's 2 ways to look at this. There's what we think is important and what we're willing to do. And the willing to do could very much be because we all think that educational pop-up events are a lot of work and we don't want to throw ourselves under that bus.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
does anyone have a
There,
comment on that?
well, I would say because didn't do a lot this year. But they take effort individually. The Energy
Yeah.
Fair is a once a year thing. We
Yeah.
spend a month and a half planning for it and we do it on a day.
Yeah,
The website is a continuation of the theme of one thing, bringing in information to people. The pop-ups depend on opportunities. Are we doing farmer's market? Are we doing the library? Are we doing the food show? Are we doing the green up day? And each one of those collectively takes its own bit of work. So I don't know that there is a champion for all of them individually,
That's a good point. I was thinking like forum type stuff, like we've talked about, but you're right, the Green Up Day is a pop-up event and we do
Yeah.
this.
It is
Okay.
4th of July, if we do the table
Yeah.
or we drive cars to it, it's a pop-up event,
Okay.
I have to agree. I think this says that what we should prioritize is Energy Fair and keeping our Observer articles going. And then everything else doesn't mean we don't do it, it's just that it's more ad hoc and one-off versus we make a deliberate plan and we set champions for the Observer and the Energy Fair so that we know that those won't fall through the cracks. Everything else can kind of, as we have bandwidth.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense. Should I go on?
And if any of us want to contribute to the website in some way, shape or form,
Go for
we can
it.
just talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free.
Okay.
Okay. And then transportation energy, this was, yeah. So the top item was adopting a requirement for new developments to install minimum number of EV charging stations. That was like number one. Second was identifying gaps in the bike ped network. And then, you know, coming up, prioritizing actions to close those gaps.
Close to how I read that.
Planning and promoting build out of new EV charging infrastructure. Collaborating with safe routes to school to encourage biking, walking to school. And then the EV ambassador program is pretty low. And then the official map was also down there, and then the encouraging local businesses to adopt TDM programs.
Okay, I will admit, I put the town's official map really low, but I can't remember why we would periodically review it. What was? Why did we do that?
Well, if new priorities come to light, if things get built, you know, so as things get built, we'll want to revise it.
The town maps, a mechanism by which we can guide town policy. Like
Okay.
if we think it's super important to have a non-road link between here and Tap Corner, right?
Okay,
The town map is the way that, like, we agree to it, it's approved by the select board, it's a policy tool. And then as land changes hands in the future,
Mhm.
we can enforce that we have some,
Oh, there's a plan.
but
related
because it's a
to-
plan, it's. Is there everyone, like, the town map carries the same weight as other town, like, official plan documents.
So
right?
kind of like when the new development that was just approved, that was Essex Alliance's.
Yeah,
That wasn't that, there's connectivity required or something because it was part of the town map. That
because it
what
was
we're
on
talking
the
about?
official map.
Okay, that was what I was trying to remember
Yeah.
and I couldn't recall. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So our comment on the first one, isn't that equivalent to what we've been asked to do with the clean heat standard, which is an ordinance?
Yeah, well, I was gonna just ask. the
Which
question.
is, at least I'm asking.
It would be a
question.
bylaw, this
Bylaw.
one. Yeah, bylaw amendment,
A bylaw, amendment, so it'd be based on land use.
yeah.
So not quite as onerous a piece of work as an ordinance.
No, not quite.
Wasn't that one of the things that we talked about having like, count for points, or does it already count for points on your?
It does already count for points, so it's already incentivized, but this
It
would
would
be,
become a.
this would be a requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how luck my questions, it's a rabbit hole.
Can I ask a question? I'm really surprised that the encouraging local businesses to adopt transportation demand management, which couldn't that have a really high impact? Getting people onto alternate transportation, that it's down at the bottom. I understand it might be because how do we actually do that other than do we put it in a bylaw? It sounds so difficult.
Well, no, you couldn't really do it that way. I mean, it would really be like an outreach,
Yeah, right.
kind of task, and I mean, right now, it seems like an uphill climb because our transit system is being.
That's why I voted it really low.
I guess it's you know, the trade-off between payoff and how much effort it takes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you know, these are all good ideas, but you can only do so much, so something's gonna fall to the bottom, you know?
Just like, I would be interested at some point during the next year learning more about number 7.
Yeah,
So that maybe I'd have a different opinion next time around.
we
I
can
just don't know
invite,
much about it.
we can invite Katma in sometime, maybe talk.
Okay,
Okay, so, I can go through these pretty quickly, you know, so basically, yeah, the number of EV charging stations installed as a measurable outcome. Response from developers, to install EV charging stations, more bike paths planned, more kids riding bikes to school. expand charging infrastructure. More charging infrastructure, adopting transportation alternatives, increased bike traffic, pedestrian traffic. And then actually adopting the EV charging requirement, and then, safe routes to school. At least one energy committee member participates in each SRTS walk roll day 1 month. Promote SRTS on the website. Publish observer articles in support of the safe routes to school. And then identifying bike gaps in bike infrastructure. And then addressing 2 gaps within a year. EV ambassador, increase EV ambassador participation by 50%.
Isn't it 0 right now?
No, there's actually like 12 or 14 people that are EV ambassadors, but they're just.
Yeah, but
There's
we're
no
not
engagement.
doing, yeah, there's no.
Again, it's public outreach. Do they know about it?
Record at least 1 EV ambassador program engagement.
Yeah, so I wrote those two. The 50% was increasing the number of ambassadors total by 50%.
Oh, gotcha.
And then the engagement was an absolute of
Right.
at least one per month.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
I think
we
that's
could
what was
promote
looking at.
that more.
What's that?
Maybe we could promote that.
I think it comes down, like, we can't
Yeah.
force people to engage, but we can
Yeah.
promote it and.
You can always
through
put
better
stuff on
information.
front porch forum and Facebook and be like, reminder, if you're in
Yeah.
traffic from your car.
People read and think which
And
one.
then,
Oh my god, too much.
Yeah,
Yes.
people write to it too much.
Yeah, people, yeah, I should say. Oh, boy.
so, yeah,
Okay.
so there's
This is
a
great.
bunch of
No
different.
teamwork on this one, huh?
No.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Also makes it harder to.
I know, what did you pick? 'Cause
I think I said EV ambassador program, but I can't remember now.
I either did EV ambassador or EV charging, I forget which one.
so maybe since folks can't remember what they wanted to
I
champion,
think it's
maybe
just,
that's
yeah, I
sort
don't
of.
think folks, I don't.
Maybe that's like a to-do for next time is just really think about,
Put
pick
names
like
next to it.
one thing that you would wanna champion, like of any of these groups of things. And then
Like
finally.
across everything, like if I had to choose one thing,
Mhm.
and not just in each bucket, but
Yes, one thing, that would be,
Could we do it right? Could we do like top 3? And that way, if we have a bunch of people for one, we can
yeah,
Yeah,
rank it out or whatever though.
that would be a good survey, yeah.
yeah. Okay, and then building energy projects, number 1, adopting clean heat ordinance. Organizing workshops or building walkthroughs, engaging local residents and businesses to improve energy efficiency. Develop a benchmarking strategy, measure progress and goals. And then last, providing free energy saving kits and materials. And adopting residential building energy standards stretch code, so.
I feel like we ask this every single time, but that last one, that's already the rule for any Act 250.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah,
So that'd be
Which is
extending,
99% of anything that's ever.
yeah, that would be extending it to all new
Yeah.
construction.
Oh, it's window dressers in this?
there is.
We just
it's
didn't,
not-
okay, cause I was kind of thinking that was gonna be one of the things that came up, but.
Um,
Have we
doing it
given
this
up
year.
on?
3 of us are doing it this year,
That's
so,
good,
yeah.
Okay, so. Yeah, so basically, comments, amount of response to helping people weatherize their homes. Developer response to clean heat standard. More weatherization of homes and businesses, carbon-free heating of homes and businesses, adopt a clean heat ordinance.
Do it.
Workshops, walkthroughs, hold at least 2 events in a year. Residential energy stretch code.
Those are mine.
Do it.
I don't think we should spend time on updating building codes or the clean heat standard. These are complex and state agencies are committed to working on them.
I bet I know who wrote that.
I did not write that, but I have some comments on that at the end of the meeting.
I bet I did.
So anyway, so here's the champions. So interestingly, nobody for the EV ambassador program. Wait, is that?
Yeah, it was in the wrong
It was
section.
in the wrong thing.
Yeah,
Whoops.
that's why.
Sorry.
What about no one wants to actually champion the clean heat ordinance?
Even though it's
just
the
this-
number one
yes,
action.
Because it's hard. It's hard and it sounds like working with a lot of other people that I don't know. I said I would do the benchmarking strategy.
And so maybe another rule would be if something does not have a champion, then sorry. If there's something that doesn't have a champion, it's something that doesn't get worked on. Or it's just gonna turn into a low priority.
Yeah.
So then we should
Well, you also
sit
have
here
levels of
and
champions too. I mean, we can work on more than one thing.
Right.
EV ambassador is really it's in place. It needs a PR process.
He's a
to
guiding
get
hand.
more.
Yeah.
It doesn't need nearly as much work as if we go down the clean heat standard ordinance pathway, you know.
So,
Yeah.
if we rank something high and it doesn't have a champion, we should spend like 10 minutes trying to guilt someone into becoming.
So Maria's gonna take the clean heat ordinance.
Well, but I also. And maybe I misunderstood, but the last meeting, Melinda, you. Conveyed some stuff that Eric had said, and it really sounded like the energy committee was gonna tackle it, but the majority of the oomph behind it was coming from staff. As I understood, if I can
The
summarize what you said.
the actual drafting of the ordinance and the working with legal counsel, yeah, that's gonna be staff.
Right, so I mean, it's a big thing, but maybe not. To the outreach. To the degree that requires an actual champion. I don't know, maybe we can talk about that next week and get further into it.
I kind of felt like that was gonna be like an energy plan level project, and so there wouldn't be a champion for that, because I felt like we'd all be working on that together anyway. Whereas the ambassador program, those are things that
Yeah,
are operating in the wings, and those need a champion to sort of keep them going.
Right.
yeah.
But
that's a
it's
good-
not the focus of the whole,
Yeah,
like the clean heat ordinance
that's a
would
good,
be.
that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Refresh my memory on benchmarking strategy, what was that?
So that is, let me go back a couple. Develop a benchmarking strategy to measure progress on goals.
Yeah,
That really relates to the plan itself and what we decided to adopt as a work plan, the energy plan.
Yeah,
Translates to a work plan, and how well are we doing that?
yeah, I think it's more like, you know. I mean, I don't know, that's the whole point of developing a strategy, like figuring out how you're gonna measure progress, you know?
Yeah.
That's
That's
a challenging one, for sure.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, sort of, yeah, tracking how many installations of heat pumps have there been in the last year, in the last 2 years, whatever, you know, yeah. So anyway, how do you wanna wrap up this discussion?
So I think this is good information for the whole group. Next time we get together, we'll do an in-person. Champion assessment, and Melinda, you'll send out a survey before that, like a ranked choice.
so we're just gonna rank like the top 3 of each section, so like we should be picking this, like, for example, the 6th.
Yes, from each section, choose the first, second, and third that you would
from
want to
each
champion,
section.
and then we'll kind of see what follows
Oh,
up.
I would
Oh, I
think
thought you
the
meant all
whole
together.
thing, because that way we really could prioritize, cause we're not gonna do.
Oh,
one
that's a good
from
point, yeah,
every-
okay, so the whole thing, so
Yeah, I
out
think
of
we should-
whatever, it's like 24, 25 of these things.
Like maybe the year, 2025 is the year of transportation, or maybe it's the year of building energy, but let's see where people are at.
I think,
We're gonna be
I
able
may have to use a different, I'll have to use a different survey thing, cause I don't know, I'll figure it out
Okay.
somehow.
And then we'll talk about it, and as Maria said, shame people into doing.
It may just,
Peer pressure.
it may just be a simple email with where you reply to me with your top 3 choices.
Okay.
That works.
Easiest way to do it.
Old school.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Great, so we've got a takeaway for next time.
Yeah, a lot of
We get some homework, yeah. And sharpen your pencils between No, next one. All right, so on to the energy fair planning check, and we're a little bit late, but we can get through this.
Yeah, so, anyway, I meant to say this in my email, but as you're contacting people, if you could update the spreadsheet, that would be great. And
It's a month from today.
does anybody have any updates from people that they've contacted?
Yes. Building energy and Sun Common can both attend.
Excellent.
Yeah.
They both had questions about if there's any paperwork or anything to register.
For them? Or
Yeah.
for, no,
Okay, I didn't think so, but I told them I'd get back to them if there was.
yeah,
And I got Vermont Heat Pump to attend. They said they would come.
and Kevin, if you could pass along to me or put in the spreadsheet their contact info. Can
Okay,
you do?
Do we have a link to the spreadsheet?
You do,
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
It's
it
in
went
the-
out.
in the
on
announcement.
the agenda page.
Okay.
Anybody else? On partners? Updates?
No, I do know.
I emailed you that I'm, based on what I've seen in the EV owners tab, I'm reaching out to a number of folks that I work with. There's quite a few EVs at work and trying to get a broader cross-section of EVs to attend.
Yeah, I know that there's some folks on this list that you gave me last year, so just might wanna check who's on the,
Yeah, I already did. Yeah, I went through the list, looked at the
Okay.
people I work with. Some of them are already on here. They're gonna get harassed by me. And there's some vehicles that we just don't have represented at all. I'm gonna try and see if we can get those in.
cool. And then to the tasks, I think things are,
One more thing on that,
Yeah.
on the EV owners page, there
Yeah.
was one that row 16.
yeah,
Could you go back to the vehicles? Someone must have started typing.
I have a
Um,
question.
Yeah, DDC guy.
Yeah.
If you could just go back to the ambassadors list that you have and see what vehicle they have.
yeah,
And I made one update, row 15, the
Mhm.
vehicle is an R1S.
yeah, Okay.
Cause I talked to Greg today,
oh.
I mentioned that he was bringing his R1T, and then he's like, dude, you know that I have the other one, so
Okay,
I fixed that one.
all right. Cool. All right, and then, as far as, I'm gonna try to get a planner's corner announcement out this week or early next week. And then next week is this week is August 31st.
Yeah, we're 4 weeks from today.
Okay.
To the fair. So Melinda and I asked her and she said,
Okay.
yes, if we bought, he has, go ahead.
Planners too, if
Go ahead.
folks can pick up, wanna distribute some of these around, that'd be great.
And if we could buy a quarter on the Observer the week before.
Nice.
And she said, we have some grant money for advertising, so.
Great.
So kind of another version of this that announces it, so.
Neighborhood. And then if we want to raffle something, we could.
We
do that
should,
too.
it draws people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What are we gonna?
a lawnmower, a gift certificate.
So
Actually, a weed whacker is a pretty good thing.
So I
and
have-
It's not expensive. Exactly. Yeah.
And
That's true.
I'm already donating one, so we're good to go in the weed whacker. I won an electric string trimmer in a previous EV event that I attended, and I already have one. 'Cause I
Oh.
You mean a battery
Great.
powered one?
So it's battery powered. I took it out, the battery works fine. I'm gonna give the battery a full charge. I'm gonna use the battery only, because battery fits my spring trimmer. I'm gonna use the battery once around the yard to make sure that we're not giving someone something that has no battery life left. But once I confirm battery life, we'll have a Black and Decker 20-volt string trimmer to contribute. All because I washed my car and I got Best in Show at an EV event 3 years ago. It was a pretty low bar.
Okay, awesome.
But I do plan to also check into either Lowe's or Home Depot to see if we can't get something a little more fun.
And keep in mind, we've got a lot of money to spend, so
Yeah.
we can just
We can also just buy it.
buy something. And,
We got like what, 4,000?
yeah,
And a decent mower is like 300 to 500 for all the really nice.
Yeah, they're running out of,
Yeah.
they sold a lot of them this year. I was in the Home Depot yesterday and their inventory is way
Oh,
down. So
only-
people are buying them.
Yeah.
If only more of the landscaping companies would buy them, because the bane of my existence over the summer while I'm home working is all these super loud. Because I've got old folks around me for the most part, and they've all hired out.
Hey.
Older than you.
Protected class.
My bar for old adjusts with my mother's age, and she's older than you. She is the standard for old in my eyes.
It's probably not true. How old is your
She's
mother?
well in her seventies.
So am I.
Well, you've aged very well. And enjoy your protected class.
By the way, I think we're all in a protected class.
I know.
Well, I would say of all of us here, oh no, Melinda and I are both female, I was gonna say.
Double protected.
okay, but,
All right,
and maybe I'll,
we're on.
I guess I should probably reach out to see if see if we can get maybe some food or something donated or
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
Maybe, we'll see, it's probably too late for that, see if we can get an ice cream truck. And like,
Oh, I'm sure we
I
can,
would
there's
like
so
to-
many trucks, coffee, cause these are
What?
usually in the morning, right? Get a coffee truck, Meeps.
oh, it's afternoon.
Oh, it is.
So I've got a friend that just started a food truck business, which is coffee and other beverages, non-alcoholic beverages. I'm gonna see if she can come.
Okay,
She's just starting out and is looking to get some,
Yeah,
cool,
exposure.
perfect.
all right,
Yeah.
She's hungry.
great.
Yeah,
Nobody will look at our displays, they'll just be like.
I was gonna bring my electric mower too. Do we wanna put that on the list? I mean, does the list matter or?
Yes.
I can bring an electric snow blower if.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've got one
go
of
for it.
those too.
yeah, let's bring them all. I was gonna bring my zero turn electric mower only because I wanna drive it down the bike path.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you're gonna be that guy.
There's somebody else
Right.
bringing an electric.
yeah, Tyler
mower.
Carr is bringing one.
So I think there's space to do that.
Yeah.
I think we have actually a lot of space where we're
Yeah.
planning it, more than I had thought previously, so there's gonna be room to
Oh, that's
play
right.
mowers.
The evening, the other.
Oh, it's gonna be, I can't take the bike path.
No.
I mean, you could,
it's-
just lever it on the battery.
Sounds like a challenge.
Anyway, so.
Good thing my husband's out of town, he'd be super jealous of your zero turn. That'd be. Can I just say for Living Green and other business, since we're almost out of time, I do have the annual report somewhat drafted, but I would like if someone could give me an update or just put an update in the draft that I shared of the mobility task force. So I feel like that's something that we
Kevin?
started that's kind of cool and,
Can be,
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Bike-
then-
Bike ped, you mean?
yeah, bike ped,
Yeah.
and then, if anyone else wants to edit or contribute, let me know. I kept it fairly short based on last year's example, but I can also make another version that is a little bit more Williston Observer friendly. When would that be due to the Observer?
21st, where's Thursday, is Thursday one, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 21st. I have to submit
Of
it,
September.
of September.
Okay,
I have
well,
to
we've
sub- I
got
have to-
plenty of.
And we have
time.
actually written one of those before, if you,
Okay,
yeah, so.
and another idea related for Williston Observer related to safe routes to school. I mean, it's kind of. I thought, like, have, I don't know, either a kid from the school or somebody interview, the employees here that bike to work. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be awesome.
So,
That would be awesome.
I have two
Somebody from the
things.
central school, you think?
yeah, maybe, or
Yeah.
even, I don't know, anybody really, but
Well, Alan Brick, you're getting kids for two, that might be. a little
not
too-
Alan.
Yeah.
Either a kid from this central school or maybe even one of you guys, I don't know, so just. I don't know.
That sounds good. I'll bring that up to Amy.
Reed, you say?
So I got a couple things that aren't on the agenda, but we'll put them under the other bullet. So first, thanks, Michael, for writing the article this week.
Yeah, that was a good article.
And really interestingly, there's two articles from VT, one from VT Digger and one didn't have a byline, but on the clean heat standard and a climate super fund. So everything kind of had an interrelationship. The VT Digger one is fairly long, proving that we really don't have a clean heat standard yet. And I thought the super fund, now they're sending out RFIs because that was, in my personal opinion, a lot of saber rattling when they put that together. And so now they really are trying to figure out what they put a act together for their climate super fund. And so they're sending RFIs out to companies to say, what should we do? As we look towards the clean heat standard that we're going to be working on, it's interesting because we've said Burlington, South Burlington developers are starting to do it. The Essex experience. This was in the Observer 50. In the middle of it, it says, Peter Edelman, who owns it, says the buildings would not be dependent on fossil fuels and would feature green space, green roof, solar power. So there's a owner developer who's thinking non-fossil fuel for 170 rental units.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's interesting, and I'd also heard that the stretch code, the new energy code adopted this year, but they're, like I said, they're calling it 2023 energy code, stretch code. They have like, basically it's a performance standards based, I guess, whatever it is, certification. And so there's choices in how to reach and like how to get the number of points that you need to achieve stretch code. And one of the easiest things to do is to install heat pumps. So we may be seeing more heat pumps being installed just because of that, because it'll be, you know, it's just an easy way to achieve the required stretch code. So
Interesting.
was
Was that something recently adopted and published?
yeah, it was, I think it was, I can't remember the date, but it was like early this year.
This is at the state level.
Yeah.
So that's something we can all like find, download and read on the state website, because stretch code comes up a lot and I will admit, I've not read it. Stretch code.
Residential
before,
building energy standards.
Okay.
And,
Cool. All right, with that, I think we've come to the end of our agenda tonight. We stayed mostly on topic. So congratulations, everybody. I guess this ends the April 28th meeting of the Williston Energy Committee.